everybody? FooserX here. I know, you do more videos without your table than when you had your table. But what else are we going to do? It's coronavirus, and we're going to talk some foosball here. And before I get in, I thought it was just this funny story. Is when I was selling my foosball table yesterday, the guys came to pick it up, and they weren't foosers, and they opened up the table to slide off the top part, and one of the guys wasn't ready for it. And this is a pristine coin-op table. Love this. And so he didn't catch it, and it fell, and like the entire goalie mechanism, that metal thing, and the wood, the curved wood where that holds in place the metal, it just cracked right off. And I'm just like, oh. Now's a good time to hand over the money. I felt so bad for those dudes. If you guys ever watch this video, if you have any advice or want some advice or tips or something, let me know. I felt really bad that had to happen. Hopefully you guys fix that table. But it was just like, oh my gosh. It's like buying a brand new car and you pull off the lot and you just get T-boned. Like right off the lot. Oh my gosh, Bishop. Oh my gosh, Bishop. So today's topic, I think there's enough foosball stuff out there that brush passing, stick passing, how to shoot, what to do. Today we're just going to talk about something fun, and that is the top 10 players of all time, as decided by me, FooserX. This is just my list. This is not to say this is the right list. So, yeah, top 10. Let's get it on. Number 10, pretty controversial for me, because you could easily, logically put any number of players here over this person, but you know, every list needs like that one surprise person where you're like, what's going on here? And that is the number 10 best player for me is Steven Sticky Steiner. And there's probably a lot of players out there who are just thinking, who is this? Like, who is this dude? And there's a lot of other players that are like, yeah, I can see it. He started playing, he was a beginner right when I was like fading out for a while of the game, but even as a beginner, we called him Speer Jr. because he had the same type of series. He shot a pull, and that was it. He's so disciplined, so methodical. Nothing was very lightning fast, nothing explosive, but he was just able to get in your head. He had probably the best head game I've ever seen. I mean, even better than Speer's. He never took himself out of a match. He never gave up. He could go toe to the toe with anybody. And I think if he just maybe had a slightly faster pull, he probably could have been one of the best ever. If he had the money or the opportunity to tour like some of the other better players, I think he probably would have been regularly top 5, top 10 open events. He was just a monster on the table. I wish he still played. And he was definitely a practice player, because when he shows up after not playing a long time, he's pretty rusty. He's not like one of those pro masters who show up and you think, oh my gosh, like you're nasty. Where'd you go to? No, he would be pretty horrible if he came out today. But with like a month or two of practice, his game was absolutely disgusting. Just mentally, it was awesome to watch because no missed executions. He was able to get in your head, and when somebody can do that to you with a slow series, it really it's just that much more impressive that they're able to just fool you on every level because they know what you're going to do. They know how to pull you off certain holes. They're just totally in your head. They're taking their time. Just awesome. So yeah, number 10 for me, Steven Sticky Steiner. All right, number 9, and this is the only goalie I have on my list, and that is Bobby Diaz. And I wish I toured and played against him a lot. I only played against him one time ever and actually lit him up. I mean, for 3 games straight. But that was it. That was 3 games. But in that one match that it was him and Steve Mose, they were playing. In that one match, what really impressed me was when he set the ball up on the 2-rod, he just started just drilling passes that I never really seen before from that setup on the 2-rod. And when I finally... Hey, leave it. Oh my gosh, Bishop is licking the butt of my cat who's using the litter box now. You are awful. You're disgusting. You're gross. Anyways, and then after the passing, he started shooting back there. And then when you you could just see how he saw the game from the pits. Like, he was a true specialist of that position. You could tell he just had excellence in terms of how he approached the game. And you know, it's not a surprise that I'd be curious to know how many titles he has as a goalie. You know, he is always, you know, in the finals or right beneath the finals. There's a reason he gets picked to play with the best forwards of all time consistently. So yeah, I'm going to put him at number 9. I think there's not another pure goalie that I have in here. So props to him. All right, number 8, another legend, another icon of this game. And I really wish I was around in the 70s or 80s or whenever he started playing, because I would have liked to see him in his prime. I think I caught him right at the end of his prime, and that is Johnny Horton. And if you've never seen him, I hope that there's some video on YouTube about his game, because it was so amazing. He was basically Tony before Tony. He is very flashy, very flamboyant, but yet still very controlled. On the 5-bar, you know, just like Tony Spredeman's far wall tic-tacking, Johnny had this near wall, just this dribble between the 1 and 2 man, and he would just wait for his openings. It was very, very simple. It was like wall, middle, and then you had that third one up there, and maybe every now and then it'd be an option. But he was so patient, and he would just wait for it, and it was just so simple, but at the same time, very powerful pass. And he had a fantastic pull. He took his time, he hit it hard, but really, I think what elevates him over everybody else, because, you know, you could look at other people and say, like, his game's not as good as this, or it's equivalent to Terry Rue, whatever, but his mental game, you know, the antics, the going out of control, just being so excessive with timeouts and recoils and trash talking and getting in people's heads and pushing people's buttons. Like, he is the last great player who's really done that on tour. And it's probably annoying. I mean, it was definitely annoying. Even, like, sometimes you're just thinking, like, sometimes you went overboard and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, why? Like, what's going on here? But overall, you got to admire somebody like that who can back up their trash talk. You know, I'm always a fan of, hey, you want to trash talk, that's cool, but you better back it up. Like, you better start winning a few. And he absolutely did. He's got all the major titles, and just watching his game, he's on a completely different level than even most masters and even like all the pros. You watch it, and his game is just rock solid on every part of it. All right, number 7 of all time for me, just in my few years, I only hit like 4 or 5 tour events. Number 7 is David Gummeson. And I think anybody who watches him play, no problems putting him in the top 10 of all time. Immediately, what jumps out is probably, if not the best 5-row of all time, one of the top 5 rows of all time. Absolutely. If you have a stick series and you want to develop a stick series, he's the person you go watch. Like, you would just go straight to David Gummeson matches on Inside Foosball, and you would just watch him play over and over again, and you would see how simple his 5-row is, but at the same time, it's not too simple. And he wrote a really good article. I don't know if it's online anymore, but when I read it, that's one of those nuggets of advice where he talked about you only want to have 2 or 3 passes, and that's it. And maybe 1 or 2 options, but you want to have your 5-row as simple as possible. And then you want to have like a hesitation or something just to like pull people off the hole that you really want to go to. And that's all you need. Once you start doing fancy stuff, once you start doing chip passes and all these other options, you're getting away from the basics. You're getting away from how you really beat people. And I think most people probably came around, at least nowadays, most people, they saw Billy Pappas do this sit still stick series, which I feel like Tom Speer was doing that first. But I'm sure there's tons of people that were doing this before those dudes. This is just what I witnessed. But they saw Billy dominating with this sit still 6 series, and it's awesome. But at the same time, that's basically Gummeson's 5-row, only he was moving it. And he would know how to pull you off. He would work the clock. There wasn't a match that he didn't live with the ball. And then when you add to that his extremely patient pull, it wasn't probably the most explosive, but he was always picking different holes, not afraid to go long whenever he needed to. He had different straights. Just an extremely smart, cerebral player, and if you were to watch him play, you can just look in his eyes, like the way he's looking at the table. He is fierce. He is afraid of nobody. He is a pit bull. He kind of reminds me of Tom Muir, and Tom Muir is like right up in here too. But these dudes are just pit bulls, and they have this power game that is really awesome to watch, but it's very controlled. Yeah, so like Sticky at number 10, not a power game, just very smart. But then you're looking at Horton and Gummeson, like Tom Muir. Like these are very power games and very great to watch. I don't think anybody would have an issue with David Gummerson in the top 7. All right, so 6, 5, and 4. I feel like you could interchange these dudes on any one of these, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. So, and that is Billy Pappas, Ryan Moore, and Tony Spredeman. You could put these dudes in any order, and you can make a case for it. But I've got Billy at number 6, and that's not to say he couldn't beat every single player and smack every single player that's on this list. But, it was just, he gave up. Not gave up, but he stopped playing too soon. Like, he was right in his prime, and he decided to pursue other things, and he was successful at that, to Texas Hold'em, winning millions of dollars. This is something you have to do, but I would have liked to see, you're always curious, like, what could he have done if he would have stuck with foosball in his prime? Because Ryan Moore and Tony, they're still sticking with it, and that's why you see them winning. But at the same time, the field isn't there that it used to be. Like when I first started playing, I went to Worlds, and I kid you not, man, when you look at the open singles and open doubles results, like there's no experts or pros in like the top 20 or top 30. It was just pro master, all the way down. And the open doubles, it was just like double pro master teams all the way down, and then maybe around 25 to 30, you're going to see like this rare expert person or this rare pro sneak in there. And we don't have that now. I mean, pretty much like after like spot number 15 in open events, you're going to see like an expert or a pro in there, and maybe even higher than that. And so like I always wonder, like, would they be as dominant if they had the field that used to be there? I don't know. But that's why I'm putting Billy at number 6, just because like he's not playing as much as Ryan and Tony, but he's still fantastic. He's a phenom. He was like the first, at least when I was playing, he was the first child to grow up on tour. And really that's what makes these 3 players so great, is you get used to playing, like you play your best when there's no pressure. And there's no pressure when you feel very comfortable. And so when you grow up on tour, you feel the most comfort there. There is no pressure. Just like that little Sam Dijon kid. Like he's going to be crushing it in a couple years. I mean, he already is, but 2-3 more years, he's grown up on tour. He's used to big crowds watching him. He's used to playing the best week in and week out. How can you not have one of the best games of all time when you're in that environment? It's just like the perfect storm. And then you look at how much they play, all of that. Okay, so number 6, Billy Pappas. Number 5, I'm putting Ryan Moore here. And it's really close. Again, all 3 of these dudes, really close. I think Ryan edges out Billy just because he's still playing. He's still very hungry. He is a beast in both positions. I mean, his 2-bar has reached godlike status back there. Especially when you go on YouTube and you watch some of those matches, and it's titled Ryan Moore's amazing 2-bar performance, and he's back there just going off almost every ball. It's so much fun to watch. He has a pure power game. Even like his roller, his pull, everything, his fibro, he crushes everything. He executes everything so well. He's also very cerebral. When you sit down and talk with him, he's very much a master in terms of how he approaches this game, how he thinks about it, how he sets players up, all of that. And to be able to consistently, take titles away from Tony Spredeman, that just goes to show you how good he is, because I think most people say right now, hey, Tony is the best right now. He's coming up on winning more world titles than anybody else ever. and Ryan Moore is still able to compete with that, even though he's not touring as much because he's focused on other things. So I'm going to put Ryan Moore at number 5. And so that gets me to number 4. My all-time list, number 4, is Tony Spredeman. And there's probably some people out there. Number 4, you're on drugs. He should be number 1, at least number 2. Yeah, you know what? And when this is all said and done, he probably will be, but he's not there yet. You know, you look at some of these players, Loffredo, Gummeson, Speer, Horton, like those players were playing like 30 years. Like they're an insane amount of time at a high level. That's their job. Like I want to see Tony he needs to do it for a little bit more. But I'm not saying he's like skill-wise off the hook. You know, he revolutionized the fibro. When I first started playing, it was a mix of games here. You would see stick series and brush series, and now it's like nobody had the far wall tic-tac. Nobody. And once he came around, everybody started doing that series, and then everybody started walking the ball. And I think Billy might have been the first, but it was a little bit different than what Tony's doing with the ball. He's basically combining all the power of a front pin with all the power of a rollover. Completely revolutionized the sport. When you really watch a lot of his games, he can beat you with just the rollover, but then he's also has certain moves and hitches which he knows you're going to react to. Like he's forcing you to react, and then so that way when he does it the second time, he knows that hole's going to be open. He knows certain movements when he's dribbling that ball are going to pull somebody off certain holes, and then he goes. It's fantastic to watch. And then you've got that ridiculous 2 to the 5 pass. I mean, it is at an insane. I mean, it's got to be like 80 or 90%. Some matches it looks like it's 100% 2 to the 5. And for a while, I wasn't a fan of this. I mean, absolutely not a fan of this. I think it's cheating. I still kind of think that is a little bit cheating, the rules on that, because it should be the same rules as the 5 to the 3, because you should not get unlimited walls. You can't just sit there and just bounce it off the wall and just wait for this huge opening, because that 3-man is covering so much more distance than the opposing 5-man. It does seem overpowered, but at the same time, everybody has a chance to do it. Nobody's really taken advantage of that. I think Speer did that when he won Worlds, but it wasn't like this. But yeah, like I didn't like it at first. But, you know, props to him for, again, revolutionizing the game on every rod, on the 2 to the 5. Like, even people who know the success of his 2 to the 5, you still don't really see a lot of players use it. It's almost like, I don't know if it's an ego thing, like, hey, are people being stubborn? Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just shoot from the 2 bar because this is the way it's supposed to be played. Or do they try it and it's too hard for them? I don't know. Like, I don't know why the best players in the world don't do that when it's such an obvious advantage, especially when you have a good fibro, especially like Gummeson or Ryan or some of these other players. Although Ryan, you know, he's got his 2 bar back there, and that's on a different level. And so sometimes I think about, well, you know, I've never seen Tony get back there and dominate a match with the 2 bar. So does he really have the complete game? No, but I feel like if they somehow change the rules, just the drive, that pit bull mentality that you see in Tony, he would get a nasty 2 bar. It would be as good as anybody else's. Probably not as good as Ryan's, but maybe, because those type of players, they put in so much effort into perfection that he wouldn't have anything less than an awesome 2 bar. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. So I'm going to put Tony above Ryan and Billy. I think he's winning a little bit more than those dudes, and it really seems like he's in it for the long haul. And maybe in 10 years, 20 years, I'll do like a hologram video on the best 10 Foosers of all time, and he might be number 1. So props to him at this young age to creep up there along with all the other legends. Pretty awesome. But again, their field, the competition, is not as much as it was way back then. Okay, number 3 of all time. Like, now we are really getting into who's the best. And I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but that's really good. Put it in the comments, guys. put your own list in there, nitpick some of maybe my choices. I know, especially with Sticky in there. Where's Robbie? Where's Tom Yor? Where's Atkinson? Where's Terry Moore? I mean, really, yeah, probably Terry Moore should be in here, but I don't want him in here. It's my list, and Sticky impressed me the most. Okay, so number 3, best player of all time for me in Denver is Tom Speer, and anybody who has lived here and has seen that dude play, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with this. One of the posts, I remember we were having a big discussion. Who's the best ever? Rico, Tony, this and that, Speer. And Gummeson said, hey, if all those dudes are in like one big foosball room and they're trapped in there for a week, the person who comes out of there as the best is going to be Tom Speer. Because that dude is a human calculator. And again, he didn't have powerful passes or shots. He was just so in your head. I mean, it almost looked like you could race everything, but yet you couldn't. But he could do every shot. He could do every series. He could win with any series. He could win open events with any series he wanted to. Far wall, near wall, whatever, 2 to the 5, everything was just, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And for those of you who haven't heard me talk about him or other players talk about him, he would just play with beginners in our BYP. And trust me when I say Denver foosball is one of the best places to play in the country. And at that time, when I was playing a lot, we're regularly getting 20, 25 teams in our BYP, and we're talking double pro master teams. And Speer would win a good chunk of that time with a beginner. And I don't mean the beginners nowadays like Mike Stein or Jeremiah, the really, really good beginners who are just beginner and points only. I'm talking about true beginners, like the bar owner who barely knew what foosball was. He would pay Tom's entry, and he would win with them. Speer beat Terry Moore and Robbie with the bar owner in open doubles at Colorado State. Who does that? Even when Tony gets sponsored and he's cashing 5th or 4th, because you can only go so far when you're playing double master teams. That player is still a competent player. I'm talking about somebody who is the bar owner who barely knew what foosball was, and this wasn't a freak event. He would constantly do this. And then another story I love with him is he was rollerblading and he fell back and he broke his wrist, his shooting wrist. So he couldn't shoot at all. But did that stop him from playing? No. Did that stop him from winning? No. He would still show up and he would pass, and then he would just get up there and he would shoot a pull kick, left-handed. And he would win. Like the whole tournament, he would win against master teams. And his pull kick isn't lightning fast. It was so smart. He would set you up. He would rock it. Everything he knew, like he was so perfect in terms of his takeoff and his motions. Everything looked the same. This is back probably when him and Loffredo just cranked out what is foosball perfection. It is being able to hit every hole, unraceable, and it all looks the same with zero takeoff. And that's what he did. And all of his passes, all of his shots, all of that, just absolute perfection. He's one of those players too where if he were to stumble into the foosball room now, he would still probably beat half the players. And if he didn't, it would still be close, but you could still see the wizardry on the table. You could still see, wow, this dude is thinking next level. His execution is flawless. So in his prime, and I probably missed his prime, he was the best ever. I'd like to play him now. Now I'm a pro level player, and I kind of saw him as I went to pro, so he was always amazing when I first started, but even when I got to that pro level, he was still very fantastic. I mean, he was still beatable, but how he could just control a match with his 5-row, and you're looking at the best 5-rows of all time, absolutely, it's like Gummeson, Spredeman, Tom Speer, like those are my top 3. And the only reason he's not higher on this is because I feel like he kind of quit too soon. Like once he won worlds and open singles, like he retired from open singles. And you would talk to him and he said like, yeah, I retired. I'm not going to play open singles anymore. To me, that's kind of a bitch move. Like that's a bitch mentality. It is, I won. I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to risk my reputation as being one of the best ever. I don't want to get dinged at all. So I'm just not going to play. And there could be other reasons for it. I don't know. I didn't talk to him a lot, but I talked to him enough that why would you retire from open singles when you won it, when you're one of the best ever players? And he could still play it and still dominate anybody, any person in that room. But he just was afraid. It seemed like he was afraid to lose. I don't know, something weird. And then even in doubles, he never really played with great partners, like worthy of him, at least on his way down. Like he would play with people who sponsored him, experts and rookies. And I didn't get that. I never understood that. There's something going on there mentally that isn't as strong as all the other masters on that list who constantly, they're so hungry, they want to win. Okay, so number 1 and number 2, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. They're probably everybody's number 1 and number 2. So number 2 all time, it almost pains me to say, because you can make a case for either one of these two, being number 1 or number 2. I'm going to go with Loffredo here. And I know, like, he should probably be, in a lot of people's books, a lot of people are going to put him number 1 because of just the longevity. To go from a kid to where he is now, to just staying on top, like this whole time. Most people have to give up foosball at some point in their careers just to like take a step back and say, like, you know what, I want to have a good relationship. I want to be married, have a good marriage. I want to have kids. I want to have a great job. I want to explore other hobbies. You have to ask yourself, do I want to give up foosball or have all this other stuff in life that's kind of important? Do I want to have a retirement fund? And he's pretty much said, nope, foosball is my thing. That's the love of my life. That is my relationship. That is my marriage. And he's paid the price, and it's paid off because he's a god on the table. When you talk to him and when you see his training routines and you see, if you go online and you type in Todd Speaks and you see all the wisdom he's giving other players through interviews and stuff, that's where we all learn from. He's like the godfather of foosball. So, absolutely, I think he is legitimately number 2 player. I think the only thing that sometimes I find myself questioning this, and it's like when I hear old time stories about the first Worlds or whatever, like Bowers or Loffredo or whatever, it's like these 2 kids who never even played a tournament before, they walked into the tournament room and they won Worlds. Okay, I'm sorry, but that tournament sucked. Like the caliber of players there sucked. And I'm gonna get hate from everybody. I'm gonna get old timers messaging me like, you suck. Who are you to say that? But I mean, could any player nowadays who's never played a World, like a major, who's never gone on tour to play these tournaments, just show up at Worlds and win Worlds? No. No. Like even Tony, when he was like burst on the scene and he won like rookies and experts and pro whatever, like he still didn't have it in him to win open doubles because you have to go through like fire for a couple years before you get to be the best. So when they were doing that, I don't know if I even count that. Still great stories, means you're awesome, but it's not like nowadays. So I always question that. But at the same time, to read up on how great Todd was way back then and to just maintain that level of excellence now, to still take matches off Tony and Ryan at this stage, it just goes to show you that foosball is like 99% mental and 1% physical, because it's just all about being smart and learning how to beat your opponent. And even in the movie Foosballers, he's saying, and I don't know if this was in the movie or in the panel discussion afterwards, it might have been the panel, he said, like, I don't scout out anybody really anymore. There's only like 4 or 5 players in that room that scare me, and those are the players I train against and prepare for. So I think that just goes to show you how amazing that dude is. It's like, he doesn't even worry about most players because he's so good. He just game plans for, the heavyweights like Tony and Ryan and Robbie and Terry. Okay, and so that really leaves the number 1 player of all time. Oh, and I'm going to go one more. And the reason I put this other person above Todd is it seems like lately Loffredo is just playing goalie. And make no mistake, he's one of the best goalies of all time. Fantastic player. But if I was going to put Todd number 1, he would be winning the same amount, but he would be the forward. He wouldn't be backpacking on whoever. I want to see, for me, I'm always going to say the person who's playing front, the forward, they're the driving factor in that title. I mean, it's an equal win. Don't get me wrong, it's an absolute equal win. But when you're trying to nitpick who the best player of all time is, I want to go with somebody who is saying like, hey, you're really, really good over there, but I think I can beat you, so I'm not going to team up with you. And we get that with Ryan and Tony. Like, I always wonder, like, why don't they play together? And then probably occurred to me, you know what, that's the rivalry. Like, they could easily just team up and be like Shaq and Kobe and win like 10, 15 world championships in a row. But it's like, no, like their competitive spirit inside of them, it's like morally not acceptable to play together. It's like, no, like I'm the best, and the other person thinks they're the best, and you're not gonna team up with that person. And so that's why when you're nitpicking here, Loffredo, why isn't he number one? Why? Because he's teaming up with the number one player in the world, and you don't get those. You don't get the same reputation, or at least with me on my list, if you are teaming up with the best player. So number one. And let's just count them down again. Number 10, Steven Sticky Steiner. Number 9, Dio. Number 8, Johnny Horton. Number 7, David Gummeson. Number 6, Pappas. Number 5, Ryan Moore. Number 4, Tony Spredeman. Number 3, Tom Speer. The late Tom Speer. Number 2, Loffredo. And that is number 1 is Federico Collignon. That dude is one of those players, when you're watching him on the table, the way he executes, the way he reads everything, it's just flawless. Like, he is in that elite, and there's not a lot of players that when you're watching their game, you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, it is like a symphony, this orchestra of amazing badassery, and his game is different. He is the only player, really, that's like consistently come over here and won with the front pin. And so when you look at, like, let's say Tony revolutionized the game in terms of, hey, now everybody wants to shoot the walking front toe pin, or the walking rollover, and everybody wants to have that rapid fire tic-tac far wall series because Tony won. So you get all these people copying him. You know, like, what was it, Mike Yor, Tom Yor, Mike Yor. But why is nobody ever copying Federico? He's shown that he can absolutely destroy anybody with his 3-row. He has one of the best 3-rows ever, along with one of the best 5-rows ever. Why has nobody copied that? Like, think about it. Why don't we see a lot of players trying to do the front pin? I'll tell you why. Because it's hard as fuck. It is. It's so hard to master all the options. And really, if you want a shot that gives you the most challenge, the most fun, the most options, and the most power, like, shoot the front pin. Like, you can go long, insides, angles, cut back, whatever. From a rock, from a standstill. If I were to go back in time, I think I would absolutely learn that shot, just to be different. But at the same time, he took that, he made it his own. It's insane. And then you look at, he also had a really strong 2-5 bar, so that's why he was dominating. And then his 5-row was so great. Loose ball, catching. And then so, you know, every time he came over here, he just won everything. And the only reason he stopped coming over here was like, hey, like, the money wasn't as good over here. It wasn't enough to justify him coming over here, but he's still one of the best ever. If he were to come here, it would probably be him, Tony, and Billy, like all those dudes competing. But maybe he comes out on top after all those guys. Like, maybe he's smart enough to look at their games and say, like, all right, like, let's go back to the drawing board, kind of figure it out. Because he's not just won on Tornado, but he's won on like 5 other tables out there. Like, who could say that? Like, what players could just go to a different table, something like Bonzini, which is a piece of junk, and just dominate and win championships on that table too, and then go to a different table. And then the pressure of flying all the way over here, investing that much money and time and effort, and then to still beat everybody. And he was definitely playing when there was still, the field was still loaded with Pro Masters. So that's why I'm putting Rico number 1. And I think too, like, if he were to keep playing, he probably would have put everything out of reach. I think he's him and Loffredo, you could say either or, but I think because Rico was the forward, at least for me, like that's the tiebreaker is he's winning, he's winning across generations or, decades or whatever, but he's also winning as the forward. He's not just jumping in goal. He's doing it all. And he was just so calm and collected. When you watch his mats, he would take a timeout, he would do the little spritz on his face. There's this like European diva. It was so awesome to watch. He would get up there with his glove, and you wanted to root against him sometimes because he's a foreigner, and you're like, go America, go USA. But then you started watching him, and you're just like, whoa, like that dude has something different in his genetic foosball makeup. He is a machine. He is a Terminator on the table, and all these guys are, but. To dominate all these guys, just like Ryan and Tony are now, it's something special. So that's my list. I want to hear what you guys think in your comments. Put down your own list. If you have a question, or you want to say like, you know what, I think Speer should be somewhere else because I beat him a few times, or I thought his shot wasn't as fast. Hey man, go for it. I look forward to seeing all that. Yeah, that's it.